Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we are going to study the third module from Cost Accounting, that is Cost Accounting Standards. So first let's see what is Cost Accounting Standard. So these are a set of principles and guidelines issued by the Institute of Cost Accountants of India to bring uniformity, consistency and transparency in cost accounting practices. So in simple terms, Cost accounting standards helps organizations follow a standard method of measuring, classifying and reporting cost so that the cost information becomes reliable and comparable across the industries. In simple tense, we can say just like accounting standards guide financial accounting, cost accounting standards guide how costs should be calculated and reported in a proper and uniform way. So, as we have already mentioned, these are guidelines created to standardize cost accounting practices, and this is issued by CASB, that is Cost Accounting Standards Board, and the aim is to ensure uniformity, transparency, and comparability in cost accounting. Next one is improved decision making. So this helps managers analyze cost and control spending. So it leads to better pricing and budgeting decisions. Next one is regulatory compliance. So CAS ensures companies follow the accounting regulations and reporting requirements. The next one is cost control. So CAS assists in identifying cost drivers and inefficiencies, thereby improving operational efficiency and profitability. Next, let's see the evolution of cost accounting standards. So this we are going to explain in two phases, that is phase 1 and phase 2. Phase 1 standards were basic and less detailed, as well as they provided general guidelines and guidance for cost accounting practices. In second phase, standards became more detailed and comprehensive and covered specific cost components and methodologies. Okay, next let's see legal framework of CAS in India. So section 148 of the Companies Act 2013 governs cost records and cost audits, and this requires certain companies to maintain cost records and conduct cost audits, and this helps accuracy and consistency in cost reporting. Now let's see the role of CAS in cost audits. So CAS provides uniform principles for preparing cost statements and also assists cost auditors in verifying cost data, and as well as ensures reliable cost information for regulators and management. Now let's see in detail what is a CAS, that is cost accounting standards. So as we have already mentioned, those are guidelines issued to ensure uniformity and consistency in cost accounting principles and practices used in organizations. So they provide a structured method for measuring, classifying, assigning and preparing cost info. Now let's see the objectives of cost accounting standards. So the main objectives are uniformity in cost accounting. So this brings consistency in classification, measurement and assignment of cost. The second objective is standardization of cost practices. That is to integrate and harmonize cost accounting principles followed by different organizations. The third one is reliable cost information, to help management take better decisions based on accurate cost data. And the fourth one is regulatory support, to provide a framework for computing costs as required by laws and regulatory authorities. The next objective is guidance to professionals. So CAS assists cost accountants in preparing general purpose cost statements. The next one is better understanding among stakeholders, to create a common understanding of cost information among companies, regulators and researchers. Now let's see what are Cost Accounting Standards Board or CASB. So this is a body established by ICMAI to formulate and issue cost accounting standards. So it was constituted in the year 2001 to 2 to develop standards that bring uniformity and consistency in cost measurement and reporting. Now let's see some of the objectives of CASB. So this develop high quality cost accounting standards, also help management take informed decisions, and this assist regulators in performing their functions effectively, and as well as integrate, harmonize and standardize cost accounting principles and practices. Now let's see the functions of CASB. So CASB issue framework for cost accounting standards, and they provide guidelines on cost accounting practices to professionals, assist members in preparing uniform cost statements, provide interpretations of cost accounting standards as and when required, and as well as issues application guidance for particular standards, and promote adoption of cost accounting standards by industries, encourage government authorities to enforce these standards, and educate users about the need and benefits of compliance with CAS. Now let's see the next topic, that is importance of cost accounting standards. So this maintains consistency in cost calculation, improves comparability, increase reliability, support cost audit requirements, and facilitates better managerial decision making. Now we are moving on to the main part, that is CAS 1 to 24. And here we have given the name of cost accounting standards and the main focus area or purpose. So the first CAS is classification of cost, and this provides principles for classifying costs. As we already know, cost has different types like direct cost, indirect cost, fixed cost, variable cost, etc. So the CAS 1 helps with classification of cost. The second CAS is capacity determination, and this guidelines for determining installed, practical, normal and actual capacity. The third CAS is overheads. Their treatment, allocation and absorption of overhead costs are mentioned in the CAS overheads. Then CAS 4, cost of production for captive consumption, and the main focus is determining cost when goods are used internally within the company. And the fifth CAS is average or equalized cost of transportation, and this is a method for calculating average transportation cost. CAS 6 is material cost, and this includes measurement, assignment and treatment of material cost. CAS 7, employee cost, accounting for wages, salaries and employee related benefits. CAS 8, cost of utilities, determination of cost for utilities like power, water, stream, etc. CAS 9 is packing material cost, whereby treatment and valuation of packing material costs are given. CAS 10 is direct expenses, where accounting for expenses directly related to production are given. CAS 11 is administration overheads, where treatment and allocation of administrative expenses, and CAS 12 is repairs and maintenance cost, where accounting for repair and maintenance expenditure is given. Now let's move on to the 13th CAS, that is cost of service cost center. So determining cost of services provided internally is the main focus area here. CAS 14 is pollution control cost, where costs incurred for pollution control activities are mentioned. CAS 15 means selling and distribution overheads, and the accounting for that is the main focus area. CAS 16 is depreciation and amortization, and the treatment is provided. Then CAS 17 is interest and financing charges, and the accounting for the same is the main focus area or purpose. CAS 18 is research and development cost, and the treatment of R&D expenditure is the main focus area. CAS 19 is joint cost, where allocation of cost in joint production is the main focus area. CS20 is royalty and technical know-how fee, and the treatment of royalty and technical fees are the main focus area. CS21 means quality control cost and cost incurred for maintaining product quality. CS22 is manufacturing cost, whereby determination of total manufacturing cost is the main focus area. And CS23 is overburden removal cost and the cost treatment in mining activities. And the cost accounting standard 24 is treatment of revenue in cost statements, where principles for revenue recognition in cost statements are the main focus area. Now let's see each of the cost accounting standards in detail. Here we'll be discussing the introduction part, the objectives, the scope, definitions and principles of each and every cost accounting standards. The first cost accounting standard, CS1, is classification of cost. So this provides a framework for classifying cost in cost accounting to ensure uniform understanding and reporting. And the objectives are consistent cost classification and helps in decision and cost control. And the scope applies to all types of cost statements and cost records. Let's see the definitions. So, cost classification means grouping of cost according to common characteristics. Now let's see the principles. And under this, the costs are divided by 5 functions, that is by element, by function, by behavior, by traceability and by controllability. First, let's see classification of cost by element, and under that there is 3 types of cost: material cost, labor cost and expenses. So the first one is material cost. So the cost of physical substances used in production is the material cost, or the cost incurred by the material is known as material cost. And the types, there are 2 types: direct material and indirect material. So direct material cost means this cost can be easily identified from the product, and indirect means it cannot be traced. The second type of cost is labor cost, that is the cost of human effort used in production. And this too has direct labor and indirect labor. Direct labor is where workers directly involved in the production cost are ascertained, and indirect means not directly involved. And the expenses, all other costs apart from material and labor cost comes under this expenses, and this too has direct expenses and indirect expenses. So this is the case with classification by element. Next characteristic is by function, that is function wise classification. We have production cost, administration cost, selling and distribution cost. So first let's see what is a production cost. Cost incurred in manufacturing the product is known as production cost. The examples are raw materials, wages of factory, rent, power, etc. Production cost is also known as factory or manufacturing cost. The second type of cost is administration cost, that is the cost for managing and controlling the organization. And this involves office salaries, audit fees, office rent, etc. And these are not related to production directly. The third type of cost is selling cost, that is cost incurred to create demand or sell the product. And the examples are advertisement, sales commission, marketing expenses, etc. So the objective of selling cost is this thereby helps in increasing sales. And the fourth type of cost is distribution cost, where costs incurred to deliver product to customers. And these examples are transportation, warehouse charges, etc. Now let's see cost by behavior. And here we have fixed cost, variable cost and semi-variable cost. So the fixed cost means those costs remains constant regardless of output. That means rent, salary, these will be fixed. So in simple terms we can say this will be same even if the production increases or decreases. Next one is variable cost. And from the name itself, we can identify variable. That means it varies with changes with output. Examples are raw materials, direct labor, etc. Then the third type of cost is semi-variable cost or mixed cost. That means this is a part of fixed and a part of variable. For example, electricity bill. To a great extent it is fixed, but as per the usage, the additional usage charges will be involved. Now let's see what is cost under traceability. There we have direct cost and indirect cost. As we have already mentioned, direct cost can be directly identified from a product, and indirect cost means which we cannot directly trace from the product. And under controllability, we have controllable cost and uncontrollable cost. So controllable cost means this can be controlled or influenced by a manager. That means labor usage, material consumptions. These can be controlled by the manager. Uncontrollable means this cannot be controlled by any specific person or at any person at any level. For example, government taxes, fixed rents in short term. These things we cannot control. So that's that. We have cost under 5 characteristic classification, that is by element, by function, by behavior, by traceability and by controllability. Now let's see the presentation. Cost must be presented according to relevant classification suitable for the purpose, and the disclosure must be clear. Let's see the second CAS, that is capacity determination. So this explains methods for determining production capacity for cost calculation, and the objective is to provide uniform method for capacity determination, and the scope is applicable to manufactured activities. And now let's see the definitions like installed capacity, practical capacity, normal capacity and actual capacity utilization. Let's see what is an installed capacity. So the maximum capacity of a plant as per manufacturer's specification is known as installed capacity, that is based on machine design and which assumes ideal conditions. For example, if a machine can produce 1000 units per day, the installed capacity is 1000 units. The second type of capacity is practical capacity, that is installed capacity, and from that unavoidable losses are decreased. The unavoidable losses means maintenance, machine breakdown setup, etc. That is, for example, the installed capacity is 1000 units and the downtime is 100 units. The practical capacity is 900 units. Now let's see what is normal capacity. The average production expected under normal conditions over a period is known as normal capacity. This considers market demand and long-term average. So for example, even though practical capacity is 900 units, due to demand, normal capacity might be 750 to 800 units. The fourth type of capacity is actual capacity. This is where the real production is achieved and what the company actually produces is the actual capacity or actual output. So for example, if the company produces only 700 units, the actual capacity is 700 units only. So in simple way we can say the installed capacity is the machine ability, the practical capacity is the after technical losses capacity, normal capacity is market based average, and actual is what really happened. Now let's see the principles. The capacity should be determined considering machine hours, labor hours and production hours. Now let's see the presentation and disclosure. Capacity figures should be shown in cost statements, and the disclosure basis of capacity calculation must be disclosed. Now let's see CAS 3, that is overheads. So overheads deals with classification, collection, allocation and absorption of overhead costs, and the objectives provide consistent method for overhead allocation, and the scope This is applicable to all indirect costs. Now let's see the definitions. We have indirect material, indirect labor, and indirect expenses. And this we have already discussed. The next one is principles. So allocate overheads to cost centers and absorb overheads using appropriation base. These are the principles. Now let's see presentation and disclosure. So overheads must be presented separately by function and method of absorption and allocation should be disclosed. Now let's see the fourth cost accounting standard, that is cost of production for captive consumption. So this provides method to determine cost of production when goods are used internally, and this ensures correct valuation for captive transfers. Let's see what is captive consumption or captive transfer. So this means goods or services produced by one unit or department of an organization are used internally by another unit or department instead of being sold out. So a company produces something and instead of selling it in the market, it uses it within the same company. So for example, if a cement company produces a clinker and instead of selling it, it uses it to produce cement. Even though it is not sold, it must be valued properly. So in simple sentence we can say this is produced internally and consumed internally. That is known as captive consumption. The principles include direct material, direct labor, direct expenses, factory overheads. The presentation cost statements must show full production cost and the disclosure is cost components must be fully disclosed. The fifth CAS is average or equalized cost of transportation. That is, it deals with determining average transportation cost, ensures uniform calculation of transport cost per unit, and this applies to all transport operations. So the principle is that the average cost is equal to total transport cost divided by total units transported, and the presentation is cost per unit transported should be presented as well as the method of calculation must be disclosed. Let's see the next CAS, that is the sixth one, material cost. So 6 deals with principles and methods for determining material cost. It ensures uniformity and consistency in measurement and assignment of material cost. So the main objective is to standardize the principles and to ensure proper classification. And the scope is that it covers direct materials, indirect materials, purchased materials, materials produced internally, treatment of normal and abnormal losses, and inventory valuation related to materials. Then the presentation, it should be presented separately in cost statements, that is opening inventories and to that purchases, freight and handling. Then we have to deduct closing inventory and likewise we will get net material consumed. And the disclosure, the certain things must be disclosed like method of material valuation, treatment of normal and abnormal losses, inventory valuation, and any change in costing methods. Let's move on to the seventh CAS, that is employee cost. So this deals with measurement and assignment of labor cost. And the objective is to standardize treatment of employee related cost and this applies to all employees. And the principles here includes wages, salaries, incentives, benefits. And the presentation is shown separately in cost statements as well as the base of all allocation must be disclosed. Let's see the eighth CAS, that is cost of utilities. So this provides guidelines for costing utilities like power, steam and water and ensures accurate allocation of utility cost, and this apply to utility departments, and utilities allocated based on usage units are the principles, and the presentation must be shown separately as well as the base of allocation should be disclosed. Let's move on to the ninth CAS, that is packing material cost. So this deals with cost of packing materials used for products and this standardized treatment of packing cost, and this applies to primary and secondary packing. So as we have mentioned, the principles are primary packing and secondary packing. So packing cost should be shown separately, as well as the nature and basis of costing must be disclosed. So the 10th CAS is direct expenses. So this deals with expenses directly attributable to products. So this provides consistent treatment of direct expenses, and this applies to expenses directly identifiable with cost object. So the principles include royalty, higher charges, etc. And every direct expenses must be shown separately, as well as the basis of allocation must be disclosed. Let's see the 11th CAS, that is administrative overhead. So this deals with administrative cost, that is the managing cost. So standardized treatment of administration overheads is the objective, as well as it applies to all administrative departments, and the principles are administrative cost normally not included in production cost and should be shown separately, as well as all the method of allocation must be disclosed. The 12th CAS is repairs and maintenance cost. So this deals with cost of maintenance activities and ensures proper accounting of maintenance cost, and this applies to plant and machinery maintenance. And the principle is that allocation is based on machine usage, and this should be shown under overheads, as well as the disclosure of allocation must be disclosed. Let's move on to the next CAS, that is CAS 13, that is cost of service cost center. So this deals with costing of service departments and ensure proper allocation to production departments. So this applies to service cost centers like maintenance, HR, etc. And the principles here means usage of appropriate allocation basis, and the service cost distributed to production centers must be presented, as well as the allocation method must be disclosed. The 14th CAS is pollution control cost. So this deals with cost incurred for environmental protection, and this provides standard method for measuring pollution cost. Applies to all pollution control activities, include prevention, treatment and disposal costs must be shown separately, and the nature of pollution control costs must be disclosed. So the 15th CAS is selling and distribution overheads. So this deals with costs related to selling and delivering products, ensures consistent treatment of selling costs, and applies to all marketing and distribution activities, and the principles include advertising, sales commission, etc., and must be shown separately, as well as the basis of allocation must be disclosed. The 16th CAS is depreciation and amortization. So this deals with depreciation of fixed assets, and the objective is to standardize the calculation of depreciation, and this applies to all tangible and intangible assets. So tangible assets are those assets which can be seen or touched or felt, and intangible assets are the opposite, that is it cannot be seen, it can be only experienced. So the principles means use of appropriate decision method and must be shown under production overheads, and method and rate must be disclosed. The 17th CAS is interest and financing charges. So this deals with interest cost, provides guidelines for inclusion or exclusion of interest, and this applies to financing cost. And the principle is that the interest normally not included in the production of cost and must be shown separately, and the treatment of interest must be disclosed. The 18th CAS is research and development cost. So this deals with the cost of R&D activities, that is research and development activities. This is to standardize accounting, as well as this applies to all research and development departments, and the principles means costs allocated to relevant products if applicable and must be shown separately, as well as the nature and amount must be disclosed. The 19th CAS is joint cost. That means cost incurred in joint production processes. So this applies to multiple products arise from common process, and use appropriate allocation method and must be allocated to products, as well as the method used must be disclosed. So the 20th CAS is royalty and technical know-how fee. So this deals with royalty payments, and This applies to royalty payments for technology or patents, and this must be shown separately, and the basis of classification or calculation must be disclosed. Let's move on to the 21st one, that is quality control cost. So this deals with cost incurred for quality assurance. So this applies to testing and inspection activities and include prevention and appraisal costs, and this must be shown separately, and the quality cost components must be disclosed. CAS 22 is manufacturing cost, and this ensures consistent computation of manufacturing cost, and this applies to all manufacturing activities, and the presentation should be shown in cost statements and cost components must be disclosed. 23rd CAS is overburden removal cost, and this is applicable to mining industries. So allocate costs based on mining output and must be shown under production cost, and method of allocation must be disclosed. The last one, that is the 24th CAS, is treatment of revenue in cost statements. So this deals with treatment of revenue items in cost statements, and this applies to preparation of cost statements, and the revenue must be shown separately from cost, as well as the basis of revenue recognition must be disclosed. So these are the cost accounting standards, and there are 24 cost accounting standards, and this chapter is very important since it has a weightage of 10%. We'll be coming with the next video, so till then keep learning and keep growing. Thank you.